Okay, so in previous class we talked about what we talked about form handling, and we also see if condition, like how it works. So we try to create a simple page, a really simple page which is having only three fields, and we were able to fetch data from it, and that's what we did by storing whatever coming from that ng form. This is one way to get data from a form. Maybe tomorrow or today, if time permits, we will also see like how many other ways are to create forms in Angular. Then this was if condition, how it works. So you have to just use asterisk and ng if. So this is like a directive, and we will also see in future how to create directives and what's the purpose of it. Okay, now what have to do today? Today we will write some kind of training again, some logical stuff we will do. We will create some kind of to-do list. Okay, so what you have to do, let's do this to-do list. So this is what we're up to. We will write a code. Simply in day-to-day life, we have to add some, let's say you're going market. So you have some items to purchase. Or maybe you are at home, you have want to do something, want to create your own timetable some and want to work accordingly. So like that, or if you have a whole day, what's your plan? So we need to create some kind of notepad where we can note down, okay, at this time I will be here, at that time that I will be there. So likewise, this is what we are going to do through Angular. So let's try to implement that way. Like whatever we have done so far, we will try to implement that. So let's start with this. Okay, so close all, and we are under Angular training. App. Okay, so I'll create one component parallel to app. So I'll go inside src app, then here I'll say ng generate component, and I'll say we have to give some list, I mean a name. So I'll call this to do. That's what going my component name. Okay, so it will create again uh, four files, and you can see it also updated this module. You can see it says update, right? So let's take this content, what we just executed. This is what we did. Okay, so this is the command we executed, and as a result we got four create and one update. Let me pull this up as well. Okay, now let's expand this, use to do. So one file, CS file, we are not going to work on that. HTML file, it just says to do works. Spec file, it's a test case file, so leave it. Even I don't need the CS file and the TS file. So this is how it looks like. And in app module, you can see our component is also registered under declaration. So it goes under declaration. And this is here, it is imported. So I can take a screenshot of our application where things are to make that clear. So once we code this out, it creates certain files. So from to do to this. Okay, and I can this box here. So these are the files created, and if we talk about module file, so in module file we have uh, this code. So when you talk about this, so it registered our component here, right, Kiran? This is fine, right? No issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we already saw this multiple times, so again repeating it again and again. So at least this should be clear that how to create components in Angular. So wherever you want, go to the directory and try to run these commands. Okay, it's working great. Now the requirement is I want to create some kind of to-do list. So definitely I'll try to make it dynamic. So I'll create some add button or something, and that should work. And put this up as well. Okay, fine. Okay, next paint. Let's save it to. Okay, time to write a code. So first of all, on HTML. Okay, and even before that, even let's see verify whether it is running or not. So let's go back. One more back, cd dot dot. So you should be on root, then try ng serve. Okay, so it is running. Execute it. It says compiled successfully. Great. Now next step is we need to open this port. It clearly says it is running on localhost 80, for 4020, 4220, 4200 actually. And this is how it looks. But I don't see that message to do works, right? I need this message first of all. So what you have to do, open that app component HTML file. Again, just for clarification, I'm commenting this line as well. And here I'll say app, not app. How to know what's the element or selector name? You have to go back this ts file, and this is the selector name.
Selected.
App to do. We don't need this file. Close it, and on app component, I'll just say it this way. And done. File saved. It
And
is
one more
fresh.
thing, like, sir,
Hmm.
it is Angular case sensitive or not?
Uh, it is actually. So, but actually, when it comes to selector and all, so try to keep it in small letters. You can see it's case sensitive. So if your class is small, so you have to use it. This is a class name, so it starts with capital T. It's a selector name, so small.
Mhm.
So you have
Mhm.
to, take care of the cases as well. You cannot write this small everything to do component. No, you have to write as it is because it's a class name. Like Java, we cannot write in a small, right?
Yeah.
Same rule goes here. So it is a case sensitive. And let's verify. So you can see now to do works. Great. Okay, it's working. So now we are able to see the contents from. You can see I have commented this out.
Yeah.
Login component is commented, and register component is also commented. And I don't need this line. Okay. Okay. That is fine. Okay, so now go back to HTML file, and here I need to write some form. Again, it will be ultra simple file. We are not going to write multiple things, but I will write a simple thing. So what I just did, we call this emit. It's a feature of VS Code. You have to write exclamation sign and enter. Fine, so it will give you a form. You can say not even form, a basic structure of a HTML file. Like in Java, we tend to write main and then we get the main method. Sys out and we
Yeah.
get the sys out. So likewise, we have other shortcut as well. So if you do this exclamation sign and enter, you will get the structure of HTML. Now in body tag, we can create a simple input type. Input type, it's going to be text type. So I can write some text data. Then I'll write a placeholder for it. Placeholder, it will show up like what has to do. So I'll say enter new task. So one placeholder is also done. Then I will use one ID here. So it goes like hash and task. Okay, that's my ID. I will use it later, like we used earlier. But if I show you how it looks like, see, when you don't click on it, it shows enter new task. As soon as you click and type something, that will go away. Enter new task. When you blank it out, again, you enter new task. So this is working of placeholder. Next, I can do one thing. Let's break lines. One more break. Okay, after two breaks, let's add a button. So button, then this, then click, and here I'll say I'm going to create a function in TS file. I'll say add task, and whatever comes up that goes in task small t, come on, then dot value. Remember we did it earlier as well, same way,
Yeah.
because right now we don't know other way to get the value from the text field, so that's why we are using this approach. So later we will also enhance it or change it. Button name is done. I'm going to add this here. Add new task. Button tag is closed. Okay. Now if I, oh, we're getting error. What's that? Oh, because we don't have function. So I copied this, going ts file, And right here I'll create this function, this, and we are supposed to pass one argument as well because it's a value we are passing. So I'll say task colon string. Okay, always format your code. Never skip this. Code formatted, no compilation issue, and if we check the form, that's how it looks like. So when we do something, idea is when you click on this add new task, it should come up here. Okay, I think we did this something before, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Or not? We haven't done this kind of stuff. When you enter something, it will keep up here. We just printed something. Remember? We entered something and
Yeah.
then say get. So it only prints it. Get name was there. Now we have to click multiple times and it will pop up here like a task. Okay. So kind of 40% is done. We just created a HTML page which takes one input type and we did that. No, I mean 40%, not 40% here. We still have to pass some more thing because we still don't know how to print it. So let's go back. At least try to get that data. So we are going to use console.log, and here I'll print task as it is. Task, and even that way I'll print this way. Edit task. So we can see at least on the console what is printed. Changes are done. Let's open its inspect thing. This is the console. Clear this out. Okay. Now see. I'll say reading. And when I click, you can see it's coming up, right?
Yeah.
Then I want to write, let's say writing. Okay, at least this is working. That's great. But thing is, I don't want to print on console. I want this on web page. So even before that, this has to be changed. So console log is fine. I'll keep it there. And we will do one thing. So here comes, we are going to use collections topic. Remember list or something or arrays. So we are going to introduce that list here. So I'll do what? I'll create a list. It's a variable name and I'll call this any of array type. And I will initialize with blank array. So what we just did, created an array, not array, an empty array. Fine. And then whatever item comes up or task comes up, okay, we will push that item into this list. Okay, this is what we are going to do. So this is how it works. So this dot list, then we have a function push. Okay, arrays has a function push, and in this we can create multiple types. So first I'll create one variable id, and here I'll say this dot list dot length. Okay, comma name I'm going to add, and whatever is coming up from the top I'll add that task here, and semicolon there. Comma is expected. Name is replicated. That's fine. What comma saying? Okay. So this is how it works. The length, whatever length, initially what's the length of array? Okay. It's empty.
Length is like empty. It's
Zero,
empty.
right? So
Yeah.
initially it will be zero, then one, then two, and three. As you know, we keep increasing the elements. And
Mm.
whatever comes up here, the what we call task name, it goes under value. So what we just created, we created two objects or variables inside this object. So first variable name is id, second variable name is name, and id is getting from the length, and name is coming from the method we are getting. And now, what I'll do once everything is done, um, I'll try to print the list this time, not task, just the whole list. So I'll say list this, and let's check this out how it works. So I'll go to console. This is a clear button, clear, so it will clear the console. Let's say A. See, ID is what? 0 and name is A, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's clear this and say B at task. So now you can see it says 2. And if you expand, we have two elements. ID 0 A, ID 1 B, right? So that's how it will
Yeah.
add the elements. Clear?
Yep.
Okay, so this is happening. So we have everything on list. Now, what we will do, like we have added, we will also write one function which removes the things. So I'll say remove task, and here I will get that ID. Okay, so whatever ID gets clicked, I will delete that task from the list from the same variable. It's a variable name, by the way. Okay, don't get confused. List is just a variable name, and it is actually an array. We are creating array every time elements get. Actually, I'm pushing element inside that array, not a collection. What we saw in Java framework. Okay, so I will see console. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's not confuse you. Remove will do later. So we have a list, and you can see everything is printed on console, but that's not the idea. We want to print on web page. So here we'll create one what do you call that? A list of CSS. So let's do one more break. Okay, here we will create unordered list. Unordered list UL. Then we have to create one list li. And on this unordered list, remember we used uh, ngif, right? This way we wrote it. So
Yeah.
likewise, we have ng for. So type this way equals, and here you have to give what's the variable name which is holding a variable. So variable name is list, and here I'll say let item of list. That's how we write the syntax for creating any for loop. And on this list, I can get the elements. So we are going to use interpolation, and here I'll say item dot name. So it's just a reference which is coming from list, and from that reference I have ID and name. So I'm just printing name here. Okay, saved. Let's go back and see the output. So I'm going to click A at task, and you can see it's printed, right? Let's say B, working. So whatever task you are adding, it is coming up on web page. Okay, great. Now next, what I want, maybe in future I want to remove them as well. So what I can do, I can create one button which will remove that. So button, same function, I mean, some same way to write a function. Click, then equal. Here I'll say remove. What was that task? So it will say remove task, and here I'll pass ID, and we know already we have this ID coming from item. So remove task, and I will simply say item dot ID, and then say remove. That's the thing, and done. Now it is asking that you don't have function, so that there it is. Console.log. First of all, we will see. We'll just print it. Functionally will come later. And here double quotes ID, comma ID, and semicolon. Okay, this is done. No error. Going back, adding one element again. Okay, you can see it prints ID 0. Let's add a couple of elements. Now notice the console. Its index is or length is 0, ID is 0, it's 1, it's 2. So if I click on this, you can see ID 2, 1, 0. That means I'm getting ID from these elements. Now what I
Yeah.
can do, I can just go over and like we added in that and one more thing because it's coming down. Let's fix that first. List is closed. Not this one. This is closed here. It should go at that. Okay, now better. Let's see the output now. Okay, now better. It's parallel to whatever we are adding. Okay, now idea is when you click on remove button, it should delete the elements. Okay, so we have to write the logic for that inside ts file. So after logging, we can do removal from the same list. So it goes like list dot filter, then I'll get that item coming from not item actually. I need to get or actually we are going to use some function. This might be confusion. If you don't get, don't worry, we will understand it later. So we have to get this array, that arrow sign, then I'll say item dot id not equals to id, uh, this way. And if this is the case, so just filter that out, and when this works out, so assign it back to the same list. Okay, so this is done. You have to write this logic to it will remove that item id from the list. So a, okay, so we have three elements. Now let's remove it. See, removal happening. So this is the code we wrote just to get items printing on the web page. So these are some operation we try to perform by using uh, array operation. Okay, if it is not clear, don't worry, not a big thing, because initially we are uh, trying to understand how to work with what do you call this whole array structures or loop, how loop is working. And without practice, you won't understand the code. You have to write this code by yourself. Try to see how it works out. So here in add test, the only critical line is how to add element in which format. Same way when you're trying to delete the items from the list, so it is working. So we have just used a function which is a part of array. So in JavaScript, there is a function which is part of array, and we can call filter. So every time you give the ID, it checks if it is not there, so filter out, just remove that. So we are giving 2 is already present, so remove that. So that's how it removes it. That's how filter works. So for to understand how it removed, you have to understand how filter works. So one homework from this screen is um, check all functions from array in tab, I'll say. Check this out, and check means write examples and try to understand they're working. That's the one big thing. Okay, so we just saw how to write this out, and it is working great. Now next thing is when it comes to we also saw one concept in object-oriented programming, that is parent-child relationship, inheritance basically.
Yeah.
So how to achieve the same inheritance here as well. It's not the same way like we saw in Java, but idea is how to pass data from parent component to child component. Okay, this is the concept we are learning. Component to child component. So we have to learn this. Again, this is quite simple. You have to use certain uh, keywords and syntax. If the syntax are clear, you can easily pass your data from parent to child component. Okay, so how to do that? You can see from right now we have two components. Let me give you idea. So we have two components. One is app me show you here first. So we have app component right there. So we have one app component, and just now we created one component which is to do, huh? To do component. There it is, to do component. And how do I know app is parent? Because we are calling to do inside it. And doubt why app is parent? Why I'm calling app component as a parent? Because inside
The
HTML I'm calling this,
declared, yeah, we have
है ना?
declared app.
We're
Yeah.
calling it. So by default, app becomes parent component, and to do becomes child of it. Okay, this is clear, right? Okay.
Like the app component is the root component for
Huh,
every
of
component we use.
correct. Right now in our example, app component is also a root component for every component going to be created future. Because you can see everything is called from here. Without it, it cannot
Yeah.
work. And because this component is called from index page, right? Index page is calling it. See, here it is.
Yeah.
So ultimately, index is calling that root component, and then from root we are calling multiple childs of it. Okay, this is clear and great. Okay, so idea is if I have to pass some data from app to do component, or if you want, I can create a new component. What do you say? Is it fine if I work on to do, or should I create new?
No, I would like next one. Yeah, that will be
So to do is fine, right?
like the app is the app component is the just the default one, right? So can we make other and other
Other what?
like other component and use for example like app component default component root component of the what do you say like the Angular thing.
Okay, so app root is here, and we can see this part of selector. Uh, Sorry, not here. There.
Like yeah, like
There
can
it is.
I mean to say like the examples like such as like can you use the to do component and make its child component? I mean to
Acha.
say that.
Okay. So index file remain as it is, and app component. This is here. Let's verify. Okay, no issue. So this is also done. We can close it. Okay. Now from here, we are going to call it child. So let's create one child component. So let's stop the service first. Then okay, and I will also go inside to do for more clarity that we are inside to do folder. So inside this
Yeah.
folder, we will see one more child. So I'll just call it directly child. Ng generate component as a to child. Okay, that's what I'm calling it.
Okay.
Um, okay, fine. To the child. So again, we should see four things: four create and one update in the same module file. Every time you create a component, it goes in the module. Okay, great. It is working, and there it is. And how to call this child? We have to refer inside our HTML file. So what's the reference name? This is app todo child. This goes as a tag. So inside HTML, after just printing it, a list of it, I'll paste and done. So if everything was fine, we should get a message. The message should say to do child works, right? So let's say ng serve, okay, working, and you can see it is working. App to do child works. Great. So we can see data is coming from, at least the child is loaded from the parent. Okay. So now we have to focus on to do component as a parent, and that becomes child. So to do component is here. Let's make it parent now. We have to change this image. This becomes parent. Oops, wrong copy it. It's here. To do child component. Okay, so idea is now we will send some data from parent and it should get reached to child class. So wherever you are calling the child component, let me comment this as well. Here. calling to do child from here. Okay. So the tag which is used to call child component, you can give a space and write in square brackets this way. And let's say I want to send some info. So I'll say info. Okay. And info is um, my password. Okay. So the info is my password. I'm going to pass some unique ID or value from my to my child. That info is my password. Now I need to get this data to my child class. Okay, so this is how we send data. This is the first point. From this line, we are going to call child component and plus we are passing some information as well. Clear? Now when we go to child, this is here the component. After reaching here, how to get it? So you can see, okay, sorry, not here, but the TS file. So I'm thinking where to call it. Okay, so this is my child component. Here, uh, let's try to call this directly, like h1, the tag. What's that? Sorry, not here, what I'm doing. It's called on the child here. H1 tag, and here in interpolation, I'll say info. The same info which we sent from the parent. Okay, and what's the issue now? Okay, we're getting some error here. Let's see what it says. Info does not exist on type to do child. See, it says whatever you are sending, it is not present on child component. So one more thing you have to do in your child class. After this line export class something something, you have to implement. It's not required. Okay, we'll see this later. So what you have to do, you have to use one thing which call this input. It is from the Angular core, and after input like this, you can say info equals to this and file save. Okay, so we are sending data from here info. The same thing you have to, I mean, same name or variable name, it should be here. This is clear. So we just use that part here, and let's make it, or okay, let's do one thing to make it more, because string sometimes confuses. So I'm going to pass really simple stuff. Okay, wait one thing. If I do this, okay, let's do one part. Let's go back to parent one from here. To do ts. Okay, and to do component. Here I'm going to create one variable. Let's create one variable in to do parent class. I'm going to create one variable. Let's say um, data. Okay, and here this way. So it will be more easy to make it clear to you. So I create a variable data, and I'll use this variable on my component this way. Okay. Save this. Save this. Okay. Now we're getting one more error. Info data. So it's saying string is not accessible for number. Did I mention number here? Data is here. Component. Okay. Info is number, but where? Let's make one thing. For now, let's send the numbers only. 0, and this gets passed here. The string will take a different type. So what I just did, let me show you again. So on root or parent component, I created a variable, name is data. Let's make it 10. And this variable I used in on its HTML file. There it is, and I used right here data. This is the data which is carrying 10, and I'm passing within info. And this info I will use on child class on its TS. I have to make it explicitly that I'm using info, and by default its value is 0. And on its HTML, I'm just printing in its what do you call that, curly braces interpolation. So this is how we're using it. And if you go back, you can see 10 is printing up, right? So this 10 is coming from child class. You can see this from child class to child works, and there it is coming up. So let me just conclude what files has been added or used. It is not that simple like we used in Java, right? In Java, it was just extend and things will work out.
Mhm. Yeah.
Here things are bit complicated. So let me, don't worry, I'll make it easy. So this is the first part, first step where I created a variable. Done. Okay. Next, that's why I want to keep it one really just integer value. Then in the same file in to component HTML, we call this line. This is from to dot component dot html. Sorry, ts. It's a ts file. Then we did this. This is the second step after doing that. So in second step, we did this part in to do dot component dot html. So we call the tag from here. Okay. In third step, we used its child class. This is our third step. So to get this data on HTML, it passed through the TS file first. So in third file, this is our child class. So to do something this goes in HTML file. Okay, done. And finally, it reaches to the HTML file. I think I wrongly written there. It's not TS. Oh, sorry, HTML. It's TS file. It's TS. This is the fourth step. Okay, so I just highlighted the actual part from where things are coming up from one step. Let's take a screenshot again. It's not clear. That okay. To do child dot component dot html. Okay, so that's how we get data. Right now it's string. Tomorrow we will pass some string or some dynamic, because right now it's hard coded data, right?
Yeah.
We just hard coded one data and it goes through. So see, you can see it is coming from TS to HTML. It gets banded, then from HTML to again TS, the child TS, and it is getting here, and then again goes back to the component. So this is a long trip for to just pass one variable, and this is really helpful, and we use this thing a lot in projects, in Angular projects. So that could be hard coded value or a dynamic. So yeah, I don't want to write dynamic code today. It will be more confusing for you how things are coming up. So I suggest do this much for now as from your end, and see how data gets passed from one page to another page. Okay, so tomorrow we will do this in a dynamic way. We will add something, and then we will see how that dynamic data coming from there. It could be anything, just giving you an idea. Dynamic data can also come from the parent to child. Like whatever you're entering, it should come from parent to the child, and we can print it on HTML page. After this, we have to start working on forms. Okay, the real HTML forms. So far, we just use certain things. So we can see that one more topic is there, small topic. We call that. Then we will conclude our session. It is two-way binding. And this is again for the same purpose. Why we need this? To display and update value. Display and updating value at same time. Okay, like we tend to do in uh, interpolation, double quotes.
Yeah.
Same thing we can achieve here. So we are learning one more way to deal with value which can be populated at at same time. So let's do this. Going back to here and let's close all these boxes. Going to create one more component real quick. Okay, okay. So we'll write ng generate component and here two-way binding. Okay, that's my component name. It's very simple. Again, a small topic, not big, but this is really helpful when we deal with forms. So it should be known. Okay, this is a component, and definitely, if I want, the tag should be called from app component. So app component HTML. Okay, done. Okay, going back to TS and its STL file. So mostly this two-way binding used in forms. So let's verify whether it's coming or not. So let's run this service and gserve. Okay, it is up. Let's verify. Not coming up. Why? We are getting some error. Okay, it's coming. Two-way binding works. Great. So even before that, I can also, write one horizontal row. HR tag. So line should be there. Okay, great. Okay, we don't need console. We can close it. Fine. So on HTML file, we have to create one simple HTML page. So here we are, and we don't need this. We did this test. Let's verify. Okay. Now here again we will create a simple input type text, and here once we have text, now see the syntax on HTML form how to use two-way binding. So it goes like square bracket and these brackets parenthesis, and then inside you have to write ngmoder. Okay, and equals the variable name, whatever you want to call. So I'm calling name. Done. And once it's done, close that. And this two-way binding works in this bracket, and here we will use interpolation. Okay, so here goes S3 tag. And goes name. Okay, this is done. So we have name ready and this thing's ready. Now we need to tell this to TS file that I'm going to use name here. So even before that we have to verify whether we have forms module in our module file. So forms module is not here, so we have to import that as well. So whenever using two-way binding, we have to make sure that we are using form module, this one, and make sure that after importing, if I mean, even you don't have to write this way, usually you have to import here, right? So when you do this, it will get auto imported. So forms module is coming up, so we just added that in our uh, module page. Okay, and then you can create this variable because it is causing issue with the name. So we'll copy this name, going back to its two-way binding TS file. Here I'll create this, and it's going to be string type, and what it says, initialize it. Okay, well, let's do that. Okay, done. No issue, no error. Now you can see, oh, with the form. Are we getting error? What? Yep, we're getting warning. It says failed to execute set attribute or element. ng model is not valid attribute name on this HTML page. The name you used ng model, it is not supported. Why? We just did that. Forms model is added. It is part of solidify. Two-way binding is also there. We also imported forms module. It is also fine. Bracket is closed. Then export is fine. Then on HTML we used input detect. Oh, sorry, my bad. See, I forgot to close this box. Okay, okay, box is here. Now if I type something ABC, see everything is coming up in real life, right?
Mm.
So this is the purpose of two-way binding. So if you type something, it comes up by default. Earlier, what we did, we were using a variable to get this variable, but now we are getting right away, kind of a live thing. Clear? So that's
Mhm.
a way of two-way binding. I just forgot to put this square bracket. So you can see example was simple. So I started with this piece of code where we have a simple body. Then on TS file, we just need to create one simple variable and make sure that you are also importing this forms module. This is mandatory. If you don't use it, so it will fail to understand that the data is coming from which file. You have to make sure things are there in line. Okay. This is HTML page. Wait. This is TS page, and this is model page app.ts, and this is how it looks like. Test@gmail.com. Okay, so practice this much. Tomorrow we will start working with forms. There are two types of form in Angular, so we have to see how it works.